Peeping Tom channel. I am Richard Jensen, and I am coming to you live from my, I am coming to you live from my massively overpriced studio apartment in Ashland, Oregon. And today is Physical Media Saturday, and we're going to talk about 3 of my favorite Criterion discs. Now, if you're a home video enthusiast like me, or slightly less or slightly more, you've heard of Criterion. They've been in the game for years, best to ever do it. The ones who started and are and continue to put out some of the best DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4K editions of your favorite films with all the chewy extras you could possibly want or desire. Since most of the major studios have pretty much given up on producing their own cherried out editions of their own movies, it's boutique companies like Criterion, to a lesser extent Kino Lorber or Arrow or any of those other companies, to kind of take up the slack. So let's get started. Hang on a second, let me get a little water here, a little bit poured. And the first movie we are going to discuss is Fellini's 8½. Yep, that's right, we're going old school Italian. Starring Marcello Mastroianni. I apologize for my pronunciations, they are terrible. You got Claudia Cardinelli, Sandra Mio, Anucani. I'm sure I'm just butchering names left and right here. One of the greatest films about filmmaking ever made. A director is trying to make his new movie, but he can't figure out exactly what that movie is, and that confusion shows up in the film. But basically what happened was Fellini had a big hit with La Dolce Vita. He was getting ready to make his next movie, but he had no idea what movie to make. He was going back and forth trying to come up with different things. And finally he said, you know what? This confusion could make a movie, and that's what he did. He basically made a movie about what every filmmaker goes through when they're trying to make a film, to ask themselves, what am I trying to do here? What are my intentions? What am I trying to say? What am I bringing to it that is specifically me and not just a rehash of something else? Martin Scorsese has called this one of the 2 movies you want to watch to understand what it's like to be a filmmaker, and you get that in this movie. It basically externalizes the struggles every filmmaker has when they're making a film. Is what I'm doing worthy? Am I adding something to the culture, or am I just spinning my wheels? And it's an amazing film. He goes back and forth between working on the film, dealing with his chaotic personal life, looking back on the memories of his childhood. It is a full, rich banquet of a movie, and if you've never seen it, I'm not going to spoil it for you except to say you're in for a treat. It's a really terrific movie. But Richard, I don't like Italian movies with subtitles. Well, tough shit. Unless you've spent a year learning Italian, you're going to need to read subtitles. But it is worth it because, again, the film is so good. And now this particular edition from Criterion is a newer 4K release. They've actually released this film twice already, once on DVD and once on Blu-ray. And most of the extras from this have been ported over from the original DVD. A commentary track featuring film critics Gideon Bachman and Antonio Monda, which I recommend highly. It's a very fascinating track. It has an introduction by Terry Gilliam. And if you know anything about Terry Gilliam's work, you absolutely understand how he was influenced by Fellini. You've got Fellini's A Director's Notebook, which is a short film he made. Nino Rota, Between Cinema and Concert, a documentary about Fellini's longtime composer. I've seen it. It's fascinating. If you're a film score nerd like I am, you will be in 7th heaven over this. It is a beautiful, wonderful documentary. Also has interviews with Sandra Miel, filmmaker Lena Wertmuller, and I always mispronounce these names, I apologize, and cinematographer Vittorio Straho, who did not work on the movie, but is enough of an expert on cinematography to talk intelligently about the photography of the film, which, by the way, the film is in 4K. It is a new digital restoration, and it is gorgeous. If you've got yourselves a good monitor, this thing is going to melt your eyeballs. If you love black and white photography, this film is going to be in heaven. And if not usually somebody who likes black and white photography, this film will make you a convert. It is one of my favorite movies all the time. It's a film I watch anytime I'm getting ready to start a project. It fills you up, and it helps inspire you. And again, now, next movie. Now, I said earlier that Martin Scorsese has said that there are two movies you want to see to understand what it's like to be a filmmaker. 8.5 was one. This is the other. Peeping Tom, 1960, directed by Michael Powell, starring Carl Bohm, Moira Shearer, Anna Massey, and Maxine Audrey. This is a really terrific film, but a tough sit. It's about a cameraman who is compelled to film women while murdering them because he's trying to capture the moment of fear before death. Yeah, if you're going, oh geez, that sounds incredibly lurid. Guess what? It is. It's ridiculously lurid. But it is incredibly well made. It's also the film that kind of ended Michael Powell's career, because the reviews when they came out were so vicious. The film ended up flopping, and it ended up having to basically moved out of the country. That's what the reaction was. It wasn't until, I'm going to say, late 70s, early 80s that Martin Scorsese started talking up and giving power to the films of Michael Powell, that the film kind of got reevaluated, and Criterion put out a perfectly decent DVD edition, I'm going to say late 90s, early 2000s. I know I had it. I think I had it while I was still in college, so. But it is absolutely, it's a gorgeous movie to look at. It was shot in a single strip Eastman color, and it has which had come in and replaced Technicolor stock, which they had to use three strips for. So it was that made using color a little cheaper, a little accessible. It's not as candy colored as Technicolor. It's kind of a little more realistic, a little more lurid color scheme, but that gave Powell the colors he needed to make this particular movie. And what's kind of powerful about the film is, and makes it interesting to filmmakers, is Powell's complete identification with the character. Because he didn't consider the guy a monster, he considered him a cameraman. He was just trying to get his subject. And it's probably that complete identification with him that appalled people and made the film fail. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is a tough sit. This is not something you put on for a casual Saturday just to lean back and relax. No, you have to kind of build up to it, because it is a really tough sit, because the entire time you're watching this thing, and because of the way it's shot, you feel complicit in the main character's crimes. It's like you're viewing everything through his eyes. But it is, as I said before, a terrific film, and as usual with Criterion, actually I should also mention that the thing that makes this film is the fascinating for filmmakers, because it takes that basic idea of You're trying to get the shot. You've got an image in your head and you're trying to recreate it with a camera and a crew, and you're trying your best to get what you think should be on screen, and it takes that struggle to its most logical, if horrifying, conclusion. Again, it's not an easy set. You want to carve out some time for this because it's gonna blow your head blow your head to the back of your house when you see this. It's really that good. Anyway, this is the newest Criterion 4K of this. This has been given a new digital restoration by the Martin Scorsese's Film Foundation and the BFI, and it was carried out by Studio Canal, who, besides being one of the major studios in Europe, has also been responsible for some incredible restorations the last several years. If you saw William Richards' Winter Kills on Criterion when it was on a few months ago, that is the best that movie has ever looked, and that's probably because the people at Studio Canal love their films and they love to restore films. They do incredible work. I actually have a steelbook of their restoration of Akira Kurosawa's Ran in my collection, and it is just stunning. So Studio Canal is doing the Lord's work. And the disc itself has some terrific extras. It's got 2 commentary tracks, one featuring film historian Ian Christie and the other featuring film scholar Laura Mulvaney. I haven't listened to the Ian Christie one yet, but the Laura Mulvaney one is absolutely fascinating, and if you don't know who she is, Google her and look up some of her writing. She is an incredibly influential feminist film critic. She's somebody you should get to know. It's got an introduction by Martin Scorsese, interview with editor Thelma Schoonmaker, who was married to Michael Powell at the end of his life. Documentary about the film's history, including interviews with Shoemaker, Scorsese, and actor Carl Baum. Also includes the documentary in question is called A Very British Psycho, and also includes the screenwriter Leo Marx, who's a fascinating guy. Back in the 40s, he worked with the OSS as a code breaker, and he would help provide codes for spies living behind enemy lines in Germany during World War II. In fact, he said the inspiration for Peeping Tom came out of deep briefing rooms where he would talk to female agents who were preparing to go into Germany and possibly at risk of their own lives. Leo Marx, that's somebody else. Go ahead, use the Google, DuckDuckGo, or whatever search engine you have, and look up Leo Marx because he is a fascinating character. Also, there's a program on the film restoration. There's actually a nice 15-minute documentary about how Studio Canal restores these films. And here's the thing, I'm one of those sickos who will always watch the documentary about the restoration. This stuff is totally my jam. This is the stuff I love. Seeing how they can take a piece of film that's been lost for years or maybe not in the best condition and bring it back to its glory. As I said before, Studio Canal is doing the good Lord's work. So yeah, this is highly recommended. Michael Powell's Peeping Tom. Again, not an easy sit, but well worth your time. And we go from Michael Powell, Peeping Tom, to Michael Powell with Emmerich Pressburger's The Red Shoes. Probably one of the best films about the creation of art you will ever see. And it's, hang on, let me get my notes here. Again, this is another one of those films that kind of languished in the memory until Martin Scorsese in the 70s and 80s, as he was coming up, would talk about Powell and Pressburger and their influence on his work. And what's fascinating is this film was made in oh wait, what year was this? 1948. So this is post-war Europe. Europe is currently digging themselves out of the wreckage of World War II. And Michael Powell, who had spent a good chunk of the war making documentary or propaganda films about the war. If you've ever, I have to recommend very quickly 49th Parallel, which I'm not going to get into a lot of detail here, but except it's a really good wartime thriller that I cannot recommend highly enough. So keep an eye out for that one. And his basic thing about making the red shoes was he said everybody had been told to go out and die for their country, and I wanted to make a movie that basically said now it's time to die for art. And yeah, this is a movie, not to get too spoily, kind of takes that very literally. It is about the drive of what it takes to create ballet, the physical endurance of it, the artistic drive to create. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling a little bit. Let me get some water. To create meaning out of music and movement. Interesting thing is, this was shot by Jack Cardiff, and when Powell first approached him about making the movie, Jack Cardiff said, "Oh, bunch of people just dancing around. That's not nothing." He said, "Have you?" And Powell said, "Have you ever seen a ballet?" And Cardiff had to admit no, he hadn't. He said he gave him 2 tickets to the ballet, and Cardiff ended up absolutely falling in love with the form and became a ballet fan for the remainder of his life. But again, this is one of the most beautiful Technicolor films. This was shot on 3-strip Technicolor. I'm not going to go into the details about that because it's what entails 3-strip Technicolor, because it's incredibly technical and I don't want to get any details wrong off the cuff. But I will say another little bit of homework for you folks. Look up the 3-strip Technicolor process. It's absolutely fascinating if you have any interest in old movies and the technology behind them. Now again, one of the highlights of this movie is the ballet sequence. There's a 20-minute segment in the entire movie where they show a full ballet based on the Hans Christian Andersen story, The Red Shoes, which is where the movie gets its title. And what's interesting about it is it's not a normal dance sequence like you're watching from the audience at a stage. No. What's interesting is Powell and Pressburg is showing the ballet from inside the mind of Mario Shearer's character. And this was one of the inspirations for Martin Scorsese when he was making Raging Bull, because rather than shoot outside the ring as people were shooting. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my cameras doing a little flashy thing. Don't worry about it. Rather than showing the fight objectively from outside the ring, he always kept the camera in the ring, so you're seeing it very much from Jake LaMotta's point of view, and that idea came from watching The Red Shoes. This is one of those movies that all filmmakers of a certain generation grew up loving. I think George Romero was also a fan of this. So if you're a fan of George Romero, this is one of the films that he loved. So it doesn't mean as transitory properties that you should also love it if you love George Romero, but understand this was what was bouncing around in his head at the time. So it's not just horror movies. Anyway, you know what? I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to tell you a personal story about what this movie means to me. And we're going to get into some deep Jensen lore. So bear with me on this. Back in about, I'm going to say 2001, I was not in a good place. I had dropped out of college because I had run out of financial aid. And I'd flunked Spanish, and I couldn't afford to retake it, so I ended up not getting my degree. I'm not going to go into full details. It's just very depressing. I had been evicted from my old apartment, and I was forced to live in a trailer owned by this old woman who I'm not going to mention because that's a whole other story. I'm not going to get into it. And I was depressed. I was washing dishes at a hotel in Ashland. I'm not going to name it because, again, I have to keep a certain degree of privacy. But at this point, I'm probably at one of the lowest points of my life, just absolutely miserable. So it's New Year's Eve. I'm going to say, I think it was 2001. I think, it was post 9/11, so it was 2001. And I had managed to get them to give me. I couldn't get New Year's Eve off completely because we had a big event that night. But they said, "Don't worry, we'll get somebody who will come in at 11:30 and take over for you." We hired a temp dishwasher. They'll take it off, and we'll get you out of here before midnight, which was incredibly nice of them. So 11:30 comes. There's no sign of my relief. So I'm talking to our restaurant manager, Darby Strickler, and I'm saying, "Darby, what's going on? Where's my relief?" And it turns out that one of the cooks, who I'm not going to name, but I will say was one of the single most stupid human beings has ever been my displeasure. I mean, this guy just nothing upstairs, just a complete. I'm trying to be nice about this. He said as he's calling somebody the most stupid person he ever lived. This guy was total blockhead. And it turned out that guy had seen the person who was coming in and saying, "Yeah, I'm here to wash dishes." And he had told him, "No, we already have a dishwasher." And he had sent the relief away. I was about 10 seconds away from choking this son of a bitch out. Fortunately, Darby saw on my eyes I was about to go into goblin mode at him, and she managed to stop me. But I ended up spending New Year's Eve 2001 washing dishes. I think I was there until about 2:33 in the morning because, as I said, it was an incredibly long shift. We had a ton of dishes to get through. Now, the original plan was I would go home at 11:30, order pizza, and watch the Red Shoes. Well, 3 in the morning, no, nothing's open, so I'm obviously not going to be ordering any food. So I go home, I take a shower, I sit down, I figure, well, screw it out here, I'll watch the movie right now anyway. And at what had to be one of the lowest, most miserable parts of my life, I saw the Red Shoes, and it gave me some hope that was something beyond the existence I was living at that point. Art can save your life if you let it. If you take nothing else away from this, take that away. But I managed to survive, move on, do other things, and so I was able to dig myself out of that hole. Thank God. I don't know whatever happened to the guy. He got fired a few months later. Maybe he pulled his shit together. Maybe he ended up getting himself killed, but doing something profoundly stupid. Like, I don't know. I don't care. I don't know where he is, and the only reason I would bring him up is in context of talking about the Red Shoes and what's tied to the memory of that movie for me. Anyway, as I said before, this is a beautiful 4K disc. Again, 4K restoration, helped by the Martin Scorsese Film Foundation, because Marty's given power to Michael Powell, who he loved. one of his favorite filmmakers. And the extras include a restoration demonstration featuring filmmaker Martin Scorsese, audio commentary from 1994 with film scholar Ian Christie, featuring interviews with actors Morris Goring and Moira Shearer, cinematographer Jack Cardiff, composer Brian Easdale, and Scorsese. A Portrait of the Red Shoes, a 2000 documentary on the making of the film, featuring interviews with members of the production team, interviews with director Michael Powell's widow, editor Thelma Shoemaker Powell, from the 2009 Cannes Film Festival, audio recordings of Jeremy Irons reading excerpts from Powell and Pressburger's novelization of The Red Shoes, and the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale The Red Shoes. Publicity stills and behind-the-scenes photos, gallery of memorabilia from Scorsese's collection, Red Shoe Sketches, a 1948 animated film of Hein Heckroth's, I apologize, I'm getting that name wrong, painted storyboards with the Red Shoes Ballet as an alternate angle. And again, I cannot stress this strongly enough. If you have never seen this movie, ideally the best way to see this would be to be in an actual theater with an audience, with a good Technicolor print. But if you can't do that, if you don't have access to that, but you've got a 4K player and a really good TV, this is the second best way to see it. This is as good as this film has ever looked on home video. And again, this is what rare triple dip for me. I have the DVD, the Blu-ray, and the 4K. Because that's the kind of sicko you're dealing with here right now. Once again, I cannot say I cannot say enough about Criterion. They were one of the first companies to put out high edition versions of movies with extras and commentary tracks and enhanced sound and picture. Still the first best to do it, and every other company that's doing it, that does this work, basically owes Criterion props for getting the ball rolling. So those are my three movies from Criterion. I recommend them highly. And right now, it should be noted that Criterion is having a 30% off sale. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm getting no rep. I'm not getting anything from them for this. I'm just saying, if you got a little extra cash, they're having a sale. Now's a good time. You can get these movies or any other movies that Criterion has. Criterion tends to put out mostly bangers. I know they're getting ready to put out a new edition of Sidney Lumet's Network, which I would like to get. Hopefully, I can afford to get it. And in March they are putting out a new edition of John Boorman's Point Blank, which if you have never seen, I cannot recommend highly enough. That is one of the great Lee Marvin movies, if you're a Lee Marvin fan. But that's it. That's it for me this week. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll be back next week. Well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week, but we'll figure it out together. So you folks have a terrific evening, and I will see you again soon. Have a good night.